It's the special edition of Journalist Hangout for Independence Day Special. I'm Ayodele Uzubakum. It's Nigeria's 58th independence anniversary celebration. Occasions like this afford Nigerians opportunity to assess, analyze, and hope for a greater nation in broad-based conversation. As part of our desire to engender a national discourse, we are here for the Independence Day special of Journalist Hangout. Today on the program, organized labor suspends strike. Kwakwanso vows that losers of PDP presidential primaries will back winner. Says his government will protect the defenseless. Clerics seek pay cuts for politicians as Nigeria clocks 58. APC disqualifies Shitu, Al-Hassan and others as aggrieved aspirant Hit Oshomole quits the party. APC shifts Lagos primaries again as Ambode launches astonishing attack on his opponent. And later on the show, Buhari preaches unity on independence anniversary, assures that Boko Haram will be defeated. I'll be hanging out with some of our notable analysts. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Okay, let us begin with the economy and an issue that affects almost all of us, the national minimum wage question. The September deadline commencement of the new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers has lapsed, yet government and organized labor have failed to reach a compromise. But parties concerned may be on the path to solution to the imbroglio as a 4-day oil warning strike embarked upon by labor on the matter has been suspended. Okay, I think let's start our discussion proper now. Babajide, they've called off their strike. Yesterday night, the organized labor yesterday called off that particular strike. And in Lagos, someone like me, I never even noticed that there was the Nigerian Labour Congress strike on strike. What we used to have before now is a situation whereby anytime NLC goes on strike, you have everything locked down. NURTW, no movement of vehicles because even commercial vehicles will not move. Banks will not be open, a lot of offices, even the markets will not open. Under Adams Oshomole, at least the most recent one that I remember, anytime labor is on strike, it's locked down. People will have to stockpile food in their home. But let's review the last strike.
I think that in some cases, there was compliance. And even banks that opened, the banks that are fully unionized, they complied with the strike to a large extent. The banks that were opened only offered skeletal services. In some cases, they just open the back door for the customer that has maybe a huge deposit to make. So, yes, the strike was successful in some states, but largely it was not very successful. What matters is that Labour was able to get its message across that it will not condone the seeming disinterest of the government to bring the matter of minimum wage to finality, because you cannot suddenly refuse to convene the tripartite committee meeting, because that's the committee that will take a decision on the national minimum wage. So if you adjourn this meeting indefinitely, you are sending a signal to the labor unions that you are not prepared to solve the problem of minimum wage. And that was why labor got angry. Remember, this was supposed to be a warning strike. So being a warning strike, you don't even expect 100% compliance. But the message was sent to government, and the government also behaved responsibly by quickly calling labor to a meeting. And at the end of the day, it was resolved that the tripartite committee meeting will take place on October 4. And now Labour is confident that that tripartite committee meeting will finally agree on a minimum wage, which will now, and this decision will be sent to the president, for the president to get across to the National Assembly and make the new minimum wage legal document.
Mayor, anyhow you want to see it, head or tail, we are still like stuck almost in a same place, because while in one breath, if the tripartite committee will sit, something will definitely happen. And what will happen? An upward review in that minimum wage. After the committee sitting, it can never be 18,000 naira again. And the situation we found ourselves is the financial challenge, challenges most of these states are going through. I don't think up to 20 states can comfortably pay 18,000 naira. So
yeah.
when anytime it's increased.
Yeah, I think it's like between the deep blue sea and the hard place. Because the 18,000 naira that is currently the minimum wage is not a living wage. That's the reality. So it's the duty of Labour to see how they can get a better minimum wage for the workers. So if they eventually agree on what the minimum wage will be, I think the federal government may be able to pay some
Federal government,
yes,
that's
yes, federal government workers will be able to enjoy that minimum wage, which is still a relative success in a way.
Would that be spelled out in that agreement?
No.
Okay.
If they agree that this is the minimum wage, I'm just saying that some people like the federal government, like some federal government agencies, like state like Lagos State, will be able to pay that minimum wage for its workers, and it's still an achievement of a sort. But I know that a lot of states in the federation cannot afford another upward review of the minimum wage, because you know that a lot of states could not even pay the 18,000. It's a major issue. It's a major campaign issue in a lot of states. And a lot of states cannot even afford the 18,000. The 18,000 is not, in fact, federal government had to build them out several times. And if not for Paris Club reform, a lot of them would not be able to pay the minimum wage. So if you ask them to pay, yes, it will sound nice that, minimum wage has been reviewed, but what is the wage if you don't collect it? Or what is the wage if somebody says, I can't pay, so I'll pay you our salary? You understand what I'm saying? So, yes, let them agree on a minimum wage. Some agencies of government will be able to pay it, but let us be realistic with ourselves. A lot of states of the federation cannot pay whatever they decide as the minimum wage because they don't have the resources.
Jide, the same question I put it to you. What's the best way out of this situation? Should it be spelled out of that arrangement that, the federal government and some other state that if you can't pay it, but maybe let's say the limit is, let's say, 25,000 naira. And okay, but those states, my concern is about those states that might not be able to pay it.
I think that ultimately we have to do something about the Constitution. There are some portions and provisions in the Constitution that are not in tune with the times. I do not see any reason why states shouldn't be allowed to pay the minimum wage that they can afford.
They can afford.
Yes. You see, because the cost of living varies from state to state. True. You go to some states of the north, for example, you can actually live comfortably on the kind of wages that would literally turn you to a pauper in Lagos or Port Harcourt or Imo State, where things are very, very cheap, especially food. So, and for most of our people, once they can sort out food,
accommodation,
and in those villages, people live in their homes and other family homes and other. Once they can sort out their feeding and even pay fees for their children, the bulk of their problems, pay school fees for their children, the bulk of their problems are solved. So I look forward to a time when that section of the Constitution will be amended. Because as we speak, there are still states that are unable to pay the minimum wage. But the minimum wage is the upward adjustment of the minimum wage is a constitutional matter. So the government knows that every 5 years, the minimum wage has to be amended. I mean, it has to be reviewed. And the last time that it was done was June 2011. So we are due for a new minimum wage, and government has to find a way to do it. If we cannot, we can't continue to say, oh, why can't states pay? States must, that states can't pay. You can't continue to give that excuse for states. The areas through which the resources of our country are leaking have to be blocked at federal level and at state level. Perhaps if they can do that, and they also, the governors show courage to right-size the workforce in their states, they will be able to pay the minimum wage. We have a situation in which governors know that they are carrying burden too high for their states. Look at a state like Benue. Benue has the 3rd highest salary bill in the country. And it does not number among Nigeria's rich states. So it comes behind Lagos and Rivers State. There is no justification in the world for Benue State to carry the 3rd highest salary burden in our country. There's no parameter by which you can justify that. So the states must do something about the labor force. If you have a situation in which there are 8 drivers in a government department, and there are just 3 serviceable cars, so you have no reason to keep a majority of those drivers. But you see, because of the fear of losing an election, governors are reluctant to take this kind of big decisions. And I always say that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu took such a decision here in Lagos during his first term. You know, he had problems with workers, but he still managed to win re-election. There was anger against him, even here in Ward C, where he registered. A lot of the civil servants refused to vote for him. We voted against him, but he still managed to win the election, despite the problem that he went through at that time. But big decisions mark out good leaders. Good leaders are never afraid of taking big decisions. They may suffer for it, but it's temporary, and the good benefits will come in the fullness of time.
So, on the final note on this, moving forward, they're going to meet 4th of October. So, an agreement is going to be reached. And the larger picture now.
Yes, I want to align with what Babajide said. I think every worker deserves his wages. So we should not give excuses for states that cannot pay salaries. So I want to align with what he said. It is obvious that because initially government is seen government saw it as a duty to give jobs to people. Instead of creating jobs, Nigerian governors or various governments believe that it is by employing people into civil service. So the current budget is too high. And we're wasting a lot of money for people. We used to know in this time when civil servants will go to office and they will bring clothes and they will be selling things, and some will go to office maybe 3 times in a week. Some people, many of them have shops and things that they do. It shouldn't be like that. We must face reality. For us to get a better wage, then we have to right-size.
Okay, moving forward now, a long political battle line appears to have been drawn in Lagos State ahead of the APC primary, governorship primary. A political tension is enveloping Lagos. The incumbent governor, Akinwumi Ambode, is on the offensive after initial claims that he no longer enjoys the support of power brokers in the state. But there is a temporary halt in the attacks as the APC has shifted the Lagos primaries again. The coming days will no doubt be interesting. Babajide, yesterday, I was in Alausa. From Alausa, we had to go to the island. So I attended that press briefing. And the governor actually started by the security warning, the security situation, and everything, and to say that we can't afford to allow breakdown of law and order as the chief security officer of the state. And it was during the question and answer segment that actually triggered off that particular response yesterday. And the governor actually went on, on the full drive when they asked him that was the other candidates better candidates, other aspirants a better person than him.
Yeah, you see, the Ambode that you and I have been used to was not the Ambode that we saw yesterday. Ambode has gone through many question and answer sessions with journalists. Sometimes questions are not palatable, but he will handle it in a very mature manner. In fact, a friend of mine was saying, look, the difference between him and Fashola when taking questions from journalists is that unlike Fashola, when you ask him a question that he doesn't like, he will not answer. He will take a list of questions, about 7 questions, but the ones that he does not like, he will skip. But somebody will answer every question. That's what I've said about him over time. Mayor too, if you attended events in which you saw somebody demonstrate that trait. But yesterday, he completely lost it. And not only did he lose respect for the way he spoke yesterday, he also lost support. Because a lot of people who are sitting on the fence were asking themselves, is this our governor? Because the personal attack that they saw him launch against a member of his own party, a co-aspirant, was not the stuff was not what they expected from him. And what Ambode is demonstrating is that, look, he has had his back to the wall for weeks, in which many people saw him as sport, in which a musician decided to take him to the cleaners. And a video was made out of that. Now he's showing evidence of frustration. The strains are showing. But the mark of a good leader, is the ability to keep calm in the face of the worst form of provocation. So Ambode lost it yesterday, and people were like, okay, what is he really up to? Because some of what happened yesterday would suggest that he's frustrated and he thinks, well, if the whole house will collapse, it has to collapse. Because some of the things he said could actually hurt his party. He may not have realized it, but that is the truth. And to get one thinking that, is he actually trying to play the Samson in the book of Judges in the Bible, who after he had his eyes plucked out, decided to put those hands against the wall. The wall came crumbling down. And the people that he had killed in all his life as a fighter, he killed far more than them when he put his hand on the 2 pillars. His intention was to kill those mocking him. Now, some of what Ambode said yesterday could actually go a long way to hurt his own party. You need to listen again. So, and the question is, who advised him to adopt this strategy? Because for me, yes, I'm not a politician, but for someone looking for support, looking for sympathy, you have to keep your cool. You have to say, look, whatever you hear, I'm the better candidate. But you don't have to go to those details to say, oh, this person stole this. And on that occasion, you didn't even provide evidence. So it's really tough. I don't blame him. 57 council chairmen have said that they don't want you. They are endorsing Sanwo-Olu. All the federal lawmakers have said, Ambode, it is Sanwo-Olu that we want. 36 out of 40 Lagos House of Assembly members have also said it is Sanwo-Olu that they want. All the key party leaders in the state, APC leaders in the state, is the same. They are singing from the same hymn book. they all say they don't want the governor. So, to make matters worse, the leader of the party in the state, the leader of the party, the big dog in the yard of APC in Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did something very rare. In all his years of endorsing people, he never issued a statement to say, this is the person that I'm endorsing. But he had to do it yesterday. So, I don't envy somebody, someone that I like so much, but I can feel what he's going through. But the tactics that I adopted yesterday, in my view, were wrong.
Mayor, let me start by saying that I'm sad. I'm very sad. I'm very sad because I'm a stakeholder in this state. This is my state. My late father and my 94-year-old mother are from Ikorodu in Lagos State. So this is my state. And I am not happy about what is going on right now. I have to be honest that I don't agree with the press conference of the governor yesterday. I think it was a mistake. I can understand where he's coming from. Like he said, he's frustrated. He has his back to the wall.
Will you say you don't agree with the concept of having a press conference?
No. I agree with the concept of the press conference.
Because he has never spoken.
No. I agree with the concept of the press conference. What I'm saying is that I do not agree with some of the tone and the things he said.
Okay.
Because it is beneath the office of the governor of Lagos State.
Yeah.
No matter how hot you feel, you must rise above certain things. I know him, he's a good man, but I can see, like you said, I can see the frustration. I can see, but you see, no matter what happened, I'm a media person. With all respect, I'm a respect person. If I'm, for example, I'm an advisor to the governor, I will not ask him to do that. All over the world, when you want to throw death at someone, even if it's not your opponent, at anybody, you ask someone else to do it.
Yes.
You don't do it yourself. That's the way it is done. You ask someone else to do it, and you stay aloof and rise above that to say we don't know anything about it. But for you to use your position from your exalted position as the governor of Lagos State, I don't think it was a wise decision. Having said that, I want to say that APC does not need this crisis that are in. APC is a well-oiled machine that has been rolling since 1999. And it is important that everybody comes together to solve this problem. And I think the person that can solve this problem is the leader of the party. And why I'm saying so is that it's a magnanimous person. We have seen it happen before. When Femi Pedro was deputy governor in this state, he wanted to be governor. He went against the decision of his principal. He was angry, just like this. And he did so many things. He was impeached and cast into the wilderness. Eventually, he retraced himself and he was accepted. The party even went back to rescind his impeachment and all his entitlement as deputy governor was given to him. I believe that is the leader must also at this time show leadership. They must find a way to solve this crisis.
All right, Judith, finally on this, the primaries was meant to hold today. It has been postponed to tomorrow. I understand that the National Working Committee, they are meeting in Acme now. So I think after that meeting, we get a clearer picture of maybe the primaries we hold tomorrow. But Amzat earlier stepped down during the weekend. Yeah. And Amzat is of the Justice Forum. The Justice Forum is another power-broken forum. Now we have the Justice Forum and the Mandate Group working together. And we have feelers that even the likes of Dr. Moise Banire, SAN, and Babatunde Fashola, people that hitherto, they've been aloof of the Lagos equation. Right now, they're coming together to say, look, this is the person they want.
Yeah, in politics, these things happen. Moise Banire does not like Ambode. In fact, at a point when everyone was praising Ambode and people were pointing to the good things that he had done in the state, Moise Banire told TVC that he does not see anything that Ambode has done, that he does not see his achievements. And Moise also feels that Ambode is how to destroy him politically, and Ambode is gunning for even people loyal to him. They point at people like from Teju, who is a good friend of Moise Banere. So you saw what happened to Teju. There's no way that a Teju will not be happy that Ambode is going through all this. There's no way a Moise Banere will not be happy that he's going through all this because they don't like the man. So this is the thing. This has come at a time. This has come at a time, at an opportune moment for them, and they will be clinking glasses wherever they are. I've said before on this program that no matter how good you are as a politician, you remember I once said that good performance does not insulate a governor from being defeated in an election.
Correct.
What happened to Ambode happened in Zamfara State. Mahmoud Ashinkafi did very well in his first term, but he was not re-elected. Why? Because he didn't get his politics right, he moved to another party. So you must, in addition to working for the people, in addition to working hard, you must get your politics right. This is a lesson for Ambode, because he's never been a politician all his life. He's been a technocrat. You know, just like Fashola, they are not politicians in my view. So this is a lesson, a bitter lesson. You will now see clearly that in addition to working for the people, you must take care of the political leaders in the state, not simply shelling out money to people. No, that's not what I mean. You must get them on your side. When you have them on your side, it is resolved. I said last week that Tinubu, where he is now, people think that, oh, he's an Aladdin, he can do miracles. Where he is now, if the people, the generality of the people make things happen in the APC in Lagos, do not want him to give Ambode, to support Ambode for a second term. If he goes ahead to do that, he will have tomatoes splashed on his face. And that is the reality. He must listen to the people. That's the dilemma that he faces.
All right. We'll take this break. When we come back, our audience on our terrestrial platform will join us. It's still Journalist Hangout Independent Special. We'll be right back after this timeout. Please stay with us. Let me welcome our terrestrial audience on board. This is a special edition of Journalist Hangout, our independent special. And joining me is Kolawole Johnson and Ismail Omekwido. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, the first 30 minutes we spoke about Lagos and NLC strike. And one of the most attributes to find in politicians in this part of the world is compromise. Our political class here hardly give up a fight or surrender a position. We wait with measured breath for the outcome of the presidential primary of the main opposition party, that is the People's Democratic Party, PDP, with many gladiators spoiled for war in that contest. How PDP will remain the same after is a question begging for reply. But one of the gladiators, that is the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has promised that losers of the primary will back the eventual winner. Kwankwaso also says his government will protect the defenseless if he emerges as the president. Wow, gentlemen. Let me start. Ismail, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, no doubt, out of the 14, from my own reckoning, one of the front runners from the 14, or 12 or 13, as at the last counts. This weekend is going to go down in Port Harcourt. The People's Democratic Party, Nigerians have been waiting for this. They weren't so much interested in what happened last Thursday, that Kano was coming up with 2.4 million.
2.9 million.
2.9 million. Yeah. Our State came out with 1.9. You know, Nigerians knew that it was only Muhammadu Buhari that actually picked the nomination form of the All Progressive Congress. But the news there is They are waiting for who is going to face President Buhari. A lot of Nigerians that don't appreciate the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, they are going to be waiting that whoever emerges in the opposition will be able to give support so that a stiff contest. So, Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso analyze his chances.
Well, I think looking at his performance in 2014 at the APC primary that was held in Lagos here, I think, and looking at the survey so far, the talking points, I think he stands a chance, you know, and it is in the best interest of the party, the way he has said, for them to rally around whoever wins, you know, that ticket. Although most times our politicians find it very difficult to learn from lesson. But I think the Osun lesson is still very, very fresh in our memories. And I think if we take a cue from there, you will observe that both parties suffered because they refused to
conduct very...
No, they refused to placate the aggrieved members of the party.
Spot on.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
both APC and, you know, PDP. They refused to placate aggrieved members of the party. And so they have seen the consequences. And so it is in their best interest to ensure that whoever emerges, they rally around him. And the organizers must ensure that the process is free, fair, and credible. Because it is when the process is not fair, it's not transparent, it's not credible, that is when you see people complain, and that is where you see people try to undermine the party and the process.
When you look at the People's Democratic Party, I saw a press release from the APC last night, that actually described Governor Nyesom Wike as the sole administrator of the PDP, and he threatened that they shouldn't take the convention off Port Harcourt, and the PDP met and they actually agreed, and the convention is going to be held in Rivers State, Port Harcourt. But there are unconfirmed reports about the interests of this governor. Let's say the process is not as transparent at the end of the day, the way it is. Will Musa Kwakwanso be still standing on this platform that whoever emerges at the end of the day?
Well, I wish I'm close to him at all to even be able to, you know, to read his mind. However, I think one thing that the PDP wants now, it's a game of survivor, is who can face President Muhammadu Buhari. And if you trace the history of electioneering campaign of PMB, you would notice a very sharp some very sharp lapses. In 2003, when he was on the ballot, he had about 12 million votes. But in 2007, when they brought a Northwestern person against him, that dropped by half. He had 6 million. Now, he gained the same 12 million back in 2011 when he faced Jonathan. But in 2015, he faced the same Jonathan with the support of where he wasn't having before. He won the election. I'm sure that PDP is smart enough to know, very smart enough to know that irrespective of the intrigues or the interest, if the sole aim is to win election, you place a person who can win the election for you, not a person you are sympathetic to. But at times, you know, the game is full of intrigues. It's not like a coin with just two sides. There are different sides to it. But today, you know that in 2015 election, you had 15 million votes going to PMB, and 7 million, representing about 47% of the total vote coming from Northwest alone. That should tell anybody in PDP that if you can break Northwest, you'll be having a strong contest against PMB. And of course, I have heard analysts, and you can see it palpably, very clearly, that Musa Kwakwanso is a person that can break that place for them. So irrespective of the intrigues of Port Harcourt, I'm sure that they want a person who can win the election. And I'm sure that, for me, two clear persons should be the very best for them. I don't know if I can say clearly that it is Saraki and Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso, but the acceptance of Rabiu Kwakwanso in the north is bigger, is greater, and the fact that it's gotten a very large structure, Kwakwansia movement around the country. For me, I don't think the PDP will people want to joke with that, to take him out like that.
Jide, the ball will be solely in the court of the delegates, game of delegates across 36 states. If we're talking about Nigeria now, your analysis, I'm looking at the main election.
Oh, yeah.
It will upset the main election.
Oh, yeah.
But is the ability of any of the aspirants to convince delegates from enough states across the board that will come into play here? I don't know if Rabi Musa Kwankwaso has that kind of clout to be able to, appeal to all those delegates the same way. When we are looking at the former vice president, it's still so much relevant here.
Yes, I agree with Kolawole, because this is what I've also said repeatedly. The Kwankwasia movement is a strong one. Kwankwaso is the only politician in that mix who has cult following like Buhari. You saw his members going for that rally in Abuja. They even had an accident, but they were still bent on getting there.
That's the vision, no? Everybody on the record.
Yeah, that's part of the shift in venue. He has support base. There's no doubt about it. In politics, people usually don't give credit to the political enemy. But thank God, we are not card-carrying members of the party. I am not a card-carrying member of the APC. So I will say clearly that the APC, even in their hearts, they know that Kwankwaso, in that north, Kwankwaso is the person who can really challenge the president. You understand? Challenge the president that can reduce the votes of the president. When push comes to shove, this is the person who has the support base. Because whether we like it or not, it is the northwest and the southwest that will decide what happens. Northwest and the southwest. Yes. Because look, the difference, the northwest has the most eligible voters, but the southwest is behind the northwest by 3 million plus, not up to 4 million votes. So there's so much to play for in the northwest and in the southwest. So now the sensible delegates, if the PDP really want to come back to power, this is not the time for sentiments. They will be telling themselves that, look, we must elect someone who can deliver victory.
The goods.
And the person who can do it is that person who has grassroots support base. Because it's not just simply about money. Do the people love you? The day Kwankwaso went to Daura, I was really shocked at the number of people who were with him. The day he went to visit the president's town. The president's emir, the emir of Daura. So, and on that day, so many people. So I'm saying, look, you mean that even in Daura, this man has this kind of support base? And at that point, the people were saying, Daura, say Madobi.
What's the meaning?
That is from Daura.
Local government.
From Daura, they are moving to
Kwankwaso's local government.
Okay, you can speak outside too.
Yes.
He was raised in the north. They said, Daura, say Madobi. Madobi is the local government of Kwankwaso. So many things will still happen in this election. I've always said that I think Buhari will be re-elected. I've not said, I've not changed my mind. But the APC must not be overconfident. There are certain things happening now that leaders of the party must really ensure that they don't make life difficult for themselves. They have to resolve some of the dispute that they have with the National Assembly members, because all of these people are stakeholders, they have supporters. And then in states where they really have issues, You know, Kaduna, for example, you see people like Ashiru coming out in full force. You see people like the former governor, Ramala Mutar Yero, coming out in full force. PDP is being galvanized in some states across the north.
Yes, no doubt.
So the APC has to be careful. And I'm sure that even the president's advisors know that if there is any threat at all from the northwest, then it is from Kwankwaso.
Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso.
Yeah. Even the northeast, that used to be a lockup for the president. Now the internal crisis in the party, he's tearing that apart. And please, you know that there is nothing remains the same in this game for too long. You may think you have the support today, but as long as these things are happening, you are eating into the support.
Your final word here.
You see, taking off from where Mr. Babajide stopped, of the 12 presidential aspirants, we have 7 of them from the northwest. And of the 7, by my own reckoning, I will take out Dirty, who you only see on the billboard. I will take out Turaki, the former special duties minister. I will take off Tambwa for obvious reason, because Tambwa has lost ground in Sokoto, and I take out Bafrawa. So PDP should be looking at Makarfi, Kwankwaso, and Sule Lamido. Any of these 3 can give them what they want
In
the northwest. Kwankwaso, Sule Lamido, and Makarfi. Any of the 3.
So Makarfi is that strong?
Yes, any of the 3 can give them what they want, because don't forget that once they pick any of these 3, all they need to do is to galvanize support for them. And like Mr. Babajide said, APC must put down their toga of arrogance. If anything, what happened in Onoshun, I say it and I will say it again, that vote was not for Adeleke. That vote was in anger against the APC. So they must put on their thinking.
I'm sure someone was telling me that on the day of the election that as Adeleke was going to vote,
he didn't.
As he was going to vote on election day, going to that cubicle, the people are saying, I'm okay with
it wasn't for him. We were just angry.
See, remember, what's this last one? No, this last one, please. This last one, please. This last one.
What's happening?
Maybe we should just
I said something here that May 29th. I said the president came as a messiah in 2015, but now he'll be coming as a human being. I hope that they will not find in Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso the next person to stand in that gap of a messiah to come in 2019. I hope.
Well said. So I'm sure Jide is going to allow us to discuss this countdown again before the end of this week, because this weekend is actually by Saturday they are going to be in Port Harcourt to choose, so we'll be able to analyze them very well. Now, moving ahead, the center is yet to hold for the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, even after the conduct of governorship primaries in many states across the country. In most states like Oyo, Kwara, Kaduna, Borno, Bauchi, Akwa Ibom, and others, governorship candidates have emerged, but some aspirants were not lucky. While some lost gallantly and lived to fight for another day, others were outrightly disqualified by the APC hierarchy. Those asked from taking part in the primary include the Minister of Communications, that's Adebayo Shitu, and Aisha Al-Hassan, who has gone ahead to resign as a Minister of Women Affairs, and the exercise produced more aggrieved members, as some defeated aspirants who feel cheated are hitting back at the national chairman of APC, that's Adams Oshomole. They have threatened to quit the party. Aisha Al-Hassan, by the time they were at the initial screening, they didn't tell us what happened, but it was Adams Oshomole that actually explained to us. By that time, she made that comment that come rain, come sunshine, she's going to be with Atiku Abubakar. That know how in 2019, that Mr. President, that's President Buhari, has not told her that he's going to contest. But in 2019, wherever it is Muhammadu Buhari. I thought, it is Atiku Abubakar. I thought maybe some days after, she would be asked to take a walk from the cabinet, but they left her And as we used to say here, revenge is a meal.
It's the best served cold.
Served cold. At the most unguarded moment, at the least time she expected.
Most inauspicious moment.
Least time she expected. They allowed her to serve as a minister, even picked her form to become a governorship candidate in Taraba State.
That statement has haunted her since the time she made it. According to her, the president never said he would do 2 terms. That the understanding that she had was that the president would do one term. And you really can't blame her because the president has been caught on tape saying that he would do just one term. Just vote for me, one term. The video is there. He was speaking in Hausa. Now, maybe that was what Mama Taraba had in mind. But they see in Atiku one of the toughest presidential aspirants in this race today. And everyone knows that Mama Taraba is Atiku's
follower.
Yes, a very, very committed follower. So I think they still believe that ultimately this woman could even be working for Atiku. If Atiku emerges, she would probably leave the party at a time when they do not expect it, or work for Atiku while being an APC member. Politicians are fond of that. You see someone wearing the garb of APC, but they actually have sympathy for PDP. You see someone saying that he's a PDP member, but in the morning, his heart is fully with the APC. So this is the thing. I think at this time, and then there have been complaints from stakeholders in Taraba that she's selfish, she's not allowing the right candidates to emerge. So they just saw this opportunity because look, they've even blamed her for the by-election that they lost in Takum, the Takum constituency by-election to replace Hosea Ibi. You know, they blamed her that she didn't come out with the right candidate. That as long as the party does not sort out Mama Taraba, that the APC will continue to suffer setbacks in Taraba. So I just think that because Oshomole is a pragmatic person, he just saw an opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, solve the conundrum in Taraba by getting Mama Taraba out of the way, you know, so that without her being the leader of the party in the state, perhaps they will be able, better candidates will be able to emerge. And then, of course, punish her for that statement that she made a long time ago.
And in fact, Adebayo Shitu, this came like, you know, it was surprising. I think Premium Times actually did that story. Okay, Felix is calling us from Port Harcourt. Plateau State. Oh, Felix from Plateau State.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I greet you all, the crew members of this Hangout. Actually, I just want to bear my mind on the issue of the political development in Nigeria today. And I want to go straight to the very point at hand. You see, as Babajide and the other colleagues have narrated, I totally agree with them because if actually the PDP is having any sense to become relevant again in Nigeria, it has to be between these 2 candidates, in particular, one is Concourse, then the other man, not central, for that reason. So therefore, I believe that, but this...
Because we have to manage our time. So, Adebayo Shitu.
Clearly, I'd just like to mention something on the
please do it quickly.
The fact is that loyalty is not 99%. If I were PMB, you're serving in my government and you come back to say that you are particular, the next hour I'll send it out. I commend PMB for that grace of
keeping her for
honestly for keeping her
months after.
Honestly, I commend that. Then back to Shitu, I think we must commend Premium Times for this new,
investigative journalism.
Yes, they are bringing that culture back. We thought it was gone. Premium Times did the first one, and people were
Or abusing them.
Abusing them. But do you know the very day that they went to court and the court gave the nod for Kemi Adeosun to be tried, she resigned the following day. She couldn't face that. But they've been doing all manner before. Then he came to Shitu. He justified it. That I went to the House of Assembly, I made money, I made love for you. I have served you enough. Isn't that service?
He decided it on
But
his
then,
own.
see, at times we can look at politicians as being dirty and all that. But for Oshiomhole, who came out to say clearly that you don't have this, I mean, you can't run. For that goes to show that the government, if they can be much more serious, just like this, in their anti-corruption drive and their drive to do, good things per time, this nation would be better.
Ismail, Shitu was not cleared. He was not cleared to run as a governorship aspirant in Oyo State, but he's still a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, I think if we go by Oshimole's...
even Mama Taraba said, if I'm not good enough to contest for governor in my state, then I shouldn't be good enough to be minister.
Exactly. So I was going to say that because I read Oshimole's, with the things Oshimole said, now it was about qualification to even serve in the first instance. I think Oshimole should go a step further by insisting to Mr. President that she should be excused from the cabinet.
Shitu should take a
he should be excused from the cabinet. But having said that, even if he had been cleared to contest for the governorship primaries, he couldn't have gone anywhere. One of the things, Shitu is one of those who have been living on Buhari's benevolence. He was in CPC, and Buhari about loyalty
to his people.
The mere fact that an Oyo man was in CPC at a time where even some Northerners didn't see anything good in CPC, in fact, the man should be, loyalty. Should be compensated. That is loyalty. Apart from that, I'm not sure Shitu can even win the front of his house. On a very serious note. But you see,
he's street, have you?
Yeah, you understand.
Or you are limiting it.
You say you're limiting
We saw what happened to Baba Kande in Baba Kande lost his unit. But Baba Kande is even a better politician than Shitu. So if Baba Kande, as good as he is, could lose his unit, how much of Shitu?
No, the dynamics there is, the dynamics there is different.
We have to wrap up. Let me wrap up with you. Adebayo Shitu. You've not commented on Adebayo Shitu.
Yeah, the Adebayo Shitu is saying now that he wants to be given a chance to do the youth service.
At his age?
Yes, he's ready. There is a system by which you can actually serve if you missed it back then.
But before serving, sir, he should leave the cabinet.
He has to. We said this then that the finance minister should step aside. Why the investigation? It was the sensible thing to do. When the NHIS man was going to be removed, was going to be investigated. They told him to step aside.
But it's back there now. The allegation
we were saying it.
Nothing is happening.
The funny people who thought that Premium Times was writing rubbish. And even some of them, there is a notorious lawyer on Facebook who was saying that I will sue the Premium Times to death. This and that. They always point at that story. It's from Jos, the Mieti Allah story. That was not originally even Premium Times story. It was the Nation story. They forgot that the Nation refused to apologize. So, but just because Premium Times punished his reporter, because they thought the reporter owned the story. They didn't know that the reporter merely lifted the story. So they punished him with a sack.
For misleading.
Before that, anything Premium Times write, they think it's not true. But they've shown that they are a very credible and a very effective investigative medium. And now you're saying what they've come out with Shitu. If Shitu has a modicum of honor left in him, the best thing to do is to say, Mr. President, thanks for the opportunity to serve. I want to step aside.
He's not even saying that he has it on good authority that they consider.
He said Ajimobi too
did not serve.
Did not serve. And that Ajimobi, he said Ajimobi was the one who plotted his disqualification because Ajimobi fears that he will put him on trial, he will jail him.
That's what he's always
That he will jail him if he becomes the governor.
One thing we must say is, as much as it took the president several months to form his cabinet, it shouldn't take him much more to discipline every member of the cabinet.
All right. In the last leg of our independent special, Martins Oloja and Chris Kende-Wadu will join me and Babajide as we discuss national development after this break. Please stay with us. It's still our October 1 special on Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. It's our 90-minute special for our Independence Day celebration of Journalist Hangout. It is said that on the day of the death of an elephant, different kinds of cutlasses, knives, and axes are on display. On occasion like this in our country, various medicines are prescribed for ailments plaguing the nation. One of such is coming from some clerics who seek pay cuts for politicians. As Nigeria clocks 58, some of them, like the prelates of Methodist Church of Nigeria, that want large parts of the resources of the country to be devoted to the provision for the welfare of the citizens. Gentlemen, suggestion. Martins, the prelate of Methodist Church is saying the salary, and talking in terms of that salary, members of the executive, let's see, I'm sure even the legislature, the lawmakers, I'm sure, will have their salary in mind.
I think, well, what he's saying is okay, it's just a starting point, but the problem is not the salary. The problem is the normal salary from revenue mobilization, allocation and fiscal commission is not the issue.
And the wages,
the hidden allowances. The hidden allowances, constituency allowances, and all those things that are still hidden. Apart from the senator from Kaduna State who disclosed his own, others never put any
part of his own.
part of his own, and nobody else has ever spoken. And you can never find anywhere is the most,
even the common sense senator,
secret that they keep in National Assembly. You can't find the document of their own budget. You can't find it. No matter how careless. If you get into the bureaucracy anywhere, the clerk's office everywhere, you can't find it. The appropriation committee keeps it. Nobody knows the kind of powers or where they keep that document. However, you know, those are low-hanging fruits. There are other things they do to stress the national economy, the national treasury. There are other things that they do which they should cut. But if the presidency and different state governments reorganize the bureaucracy to allow the civil service to be run the way they run civil service with the one they call general order and now public service rules and financial instruction, all those things will be taken care of if there is the rule of law and the rule of the service regulation and financial instructions. Tose are the issues. So not the salary, not the allowance. Those ones are normal. If the salary less than a million naira, but all those hidden allowances are those foxes, those little foxes that spoil the vines.
Chris.
Yeah. So well said. But also look at it from this point. Is it not in this country a few months ago or about a year ago that the Senate president came out to say that he's sacking about how many of his aides? The Senate president, from what we heard, or from what he said, from this, are close to about 300 aides working with him. That is just the Senate president. Over 300 aides. Let us even assume they collect an average of 100,000 naira. I'm just being very, very. Let us just assume that they collect an average of 100,000 naira, which is not what they are collecting. They won't get up. So let's look at. Then, as he rightly said, these guys go on oversight functions. That is where the money comes. Forget about the oversight function of a legislator, senator, or House of Rep member or State House of Assembly.
And that's not part of their salary.
That is that is not part of that. That one.
No, it's the allowances for those trips.
From those trips, there's allowances for those trips. The extra cost they get for anytime they travel out of the country. All those conferences that we don't know the results, that they don't tell us. They are going for one conference in America, they are going to this, and the rest of them, and they call it. It is a fact. Ours is one of the most, the most expensive, one of the most expensive democracy being practiced in the world. Compared to what is happening in the US, compared to what is happening in France, compared to what is happening in Germany and other parts of this. At a point, someone like me, I advocated that there's no need for us to have a bicameral legislator. Yes. I totally agree to that.
Half a time.
If we are going to say, okay, we say we don't have enough presentation and rest of them, 360 people are enough to represent us.
The country, yes.
360 people are enough to represent us. So we don't need 109 again. Okay? Then, apart from that, then look at each of the senators have several aides. They have their SC. I think each of them has about 3 or 4 aides that legislative assistant. They call legislative. There's even some for legislative. They call legislative researchers who are supposed to be getting this bills and the rest of it. We just have to do something about this, and on a daily basis, to increase the salary of the average worker, as the NLC have been getting. You will see them that say, go and look. I say, no, we don't have this, we don't have that. We are talking of the legislator. What of it is in executive? Have you seen the convoy of a minister? Have you seen how many people works under a minister? Have you seen where we're having minister of state and minister of this? And the reason that why we say that every state produce a minister, that is part of the problem we are having.
It's a constitutional.
That's what I'm saying. It's a constitutional thing. What I'm saying, it can be amended.
Yes, if they want to.
There are so many ministries where we have people duplicating issues. So those are the kind of, something needs to be done. And I totally agree with the clergyman.
Julie, how expensive and the solution given by the clergyman is, will that in any way assist? Because this thing, I feel, some people feel this thing is bigger than the solution you just preferred.
Oh, we have to start from somewhere.
Okay.
The president of Kenya, one of the first things he did was to reduce the salaries of lawmakers as well as himself. We saw the president of Senegal scrap the Senate. And he said, look, a unicameral legislature is enough for us. It's a small country. It's a small country in terms of population, not geographically. And for us as a country, we are extremely wasteful, yet our wasteful nature does not match our level of production. All we enjoy doing is just consume, just consume, just consume, just consume. The expensive nature of our democracy, I don't think is something that we can sustain. Something must give, ultimately. We can't have a situation in which the National Assembly is not transparent about the wages of its members. Remember that they had a retreat some time ago where Nuhu Ribadu was asked to come and address them, during the retreat. And he told them that one of the things you must do is to make your wages transparent, that you guys are not transparent. Nobody knows what you earn. We know how much the senator earns in America. We know how much the president of America earns. All his allowances, we know. I remember some time ago when Obama was going to, I think, Italy. And some of the items that Obama's wife picked up, during shopping, she had to pay. She had to pay. Even some of those, you remember even when they were leaving office, they were left and moved into a rented apartment. How many people can be president of Nigeria?
Not president, sir.
Local government. Yes, who will leave? What they do is, you see what we do. The allowances we pay. Hold on, please.
Yes, sir.
The allowances we pay to federal lawmakers, once they resume, they take part of the money and buy houses in Abuja.
It's true.
That's what they do. They just go to Jabi and all these places and buy a house.
Some are even building hotels.
That's to tell you how big how
Lump
big,
sum.
yes, how big the lump sum that we pay these guys are. So I believe that it's not in the salary. The salary is the president and the vice president to reduce their salary the other day. But the devil is in the allowances that public officers earn. It's not in their salary, because it is the Revenue Mobilization of Fiscal Commission that that determines what they should earn as salary. But they have no say in the allowances that these guys pay to themselves. When Buhari came with the idea of TSA, the National Assembly was the first to say, no, keep your TSA to yourself. Don't come to our territory to come and do TSA. And they were saying, look, it will amount to, encroaching on the rights of another arm of government. If you come and do TSA for us, they refused.
Separation of powers.
They refused. So, but Nigerians deserve to know how much their lawmakers earn. And if we think that what these people earn is too much, then an advocacy has to be made for their wages to be scaled down significantly in line with the current realities. That is what the clergy man is saying, that the current economic situation, the poverty in the land, you know, does not support the obscene wages, the obscene allowances that our political office holders are earning. So, and I agree absolutely that even they, on their own, they need to sit down, do some introspection, and ask themselves that, is this sustainable? And let them even agree on their own. Let there be unanimity on their part that, look, we are coming as born-again leaders of the Nigerian people, and we want, before you call for reduction in our wages, we want to, on our own, reduce it, but that's not likely to happen.
Martin said,
one fundamental issue that we should take away from this place is that it's actually one of the core functions of political parties. You know, the political parties coming into power, especially the ruling parties, when they are preparing, they should have core values that they have to pursue when they get to power. So when they get to power, they say that we are going to reduce recklessness at all levels. And we use the civil service system to ensure that people do not have access to funds the way people have access here. At all levels, not only the National Assembly. It was, as he was saying, ministers, you saw even at a platform, or this October 1 like this, when Peter Obi was talking about the recklessness on the part of even governors, that if Nigerians know what governors spend, that there will be riot. So it's at all level that the way public officers have access to public funds here, uncontrolled.
And so-called security votes.
Security votes and so many other votes like that they just give to people recklessly.
Okay, let me take this call. Shola is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Shola.
Yes. Please, what I just want to contribute is this. I want to believe that those salaries, the income, the revenue of the country doesn't go to National Assembly's pocket directly. There's a place like CBN where all our revenues comes in. Now, National Assembly wearing the one paying their salary themselves. The salary is being paid by a body. Now, I can imagine how is it possible for them to be collecting salaries, and we don't know the people, the amount they are collecting, when their salary is being handled by a particular body in the country. So does that mean that those people are also colluding with them to hide their salaries from us? Or how is it possible that they are being paid salaries into their account and the CBN could not track the amount they are doing?
Thank you, Shola. I think we'll get you. We'll get you. If you are tuned in on time, you'd have gotten the explanation from Babajide. It's not the money. It's not the basic salary that comes from the revenue allocation or the wages commission.
All those basic things, but those hidden things are the real issues. Yes, allowances, and what they put into contracts.
Now, on the final stretch, now it's It's Nigeria's 58th independence anniversary celebration. Beyond the annual ritual of national broadcast by the country's president is what citizens make of the speeches and the situation on ground. President Muhammadu Buhari has delivered that of today, and we are trying to make sense out of the issue he addressed. The president preaches unity and assures that Boko Haram will be defeated. I don't think we agree less. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, for me, my own personal comment is still on what we said last year, Babajide, and we have the same situation this year. The production crew in Aso Rock. The production crew in Aso Rock. The president will be making his broadcast. We can hardly hear what the president is saying. Number one, audio issues. Number two, jump cuts. Number three, they didn't allow that broadcast to finish today because it was badly edited. Yeah. We can do more. Unprofessional. Yes, we have production people across the country, professionals that you pay less to get better quality from what you if you come to TVC, we have production people here. Please, that's national broadcast is nothing to write home about in terms of
people. They can even get a consultant who will do that. You know, pay him, and he will do that. He will do a tight job. You see, the thing is, sometimes when they look at the headroom is too much. It's too much.
I don't know.
Must the coat of arms
the framing is not good enough.
Look at the president down.
They are focusing on the head. It's very small.
They're focusing on the
flags and everything. So everything
rather than the principal. Well, no, it's anyway.
Well, the president said Boko Haram.
Yes.
That Boko Haram is working. They are working, and the Nigerian military working very hard to make sure that this terrorist group are defeated finally.
I think this, in my view, is the best speech from the president since he became president of this country. Not the usual issuance of threats was absent. The language was temperate. The language was presidential. So, and you will see, and it picked up the different problems confronting our nation. He itemized them, and he had comments for each of those major problems confronting our nation. Yes, some have said that he didn't talk about Leah Sharibu and the threat of Boko Haram, and the threat that Boko Haram will kill her. But he talked about Boko Haram and paid tributes to our soldiers, who are on the front line, risking their lives just to keep you and I safe. I think that whichever way we look at it, the sacrifices that those guys make cannot be underestimated.
At all.
They are sacrificing, and you saw what happened with the airplane, the F-7 that came down. One of the guys struggled. He didn't want to crash the plane on a civilian area. He paid with his life in the end. So I'm happy that he paid tributes to those guys because they are really sacrificing in the Northeast especially. And then he talked about the herdsmen, farmers crisis, and said, look, anybody who kills people, who murders people in the name of farmers or in the name of herdsmen will be punished if in accordance with the laws of our country. So he tried his best, to address the salient issues in very good language, quite unusual from what we've had in the past, when even an issue, they will even deceive the president, like when we had the fuel scarcity and the president gave a speech, and the president said, he's aware that people are hoarding. But we know from what the DPR later told us, that it was supply inadequacy that caused the crisis. So may Kanti Baru and the rest of them continue to lie to the president, it's the Nigerians who are hoarding. So is it that hoarding and smuggling of petroleum products have suddenly stopped? If you want to know whether Nigerians are still smuggling petrol across our border, go to border communities. It's still happening. No. But the difference now is that there is sufficient supply of the product, which was not what we had then. But they misled the president. He read the speech where he was accusing Nigerians of hoarding and of smuggling. So this time around, the president's speech was really spot on. He talked also about our founding fathers, that they plan to, that they made sacrifices to bequeath a great nation to us, and that they intend to consolidate on this great legacy. Have we been able to consolidate on the great legacies of our founding fathers as a nation? Because when you look back, Nigeria was a much better place to live in the 60s than it is now.
Honestly.
Everything, our currency was fine, everything was good about Nigeria back then. But today, unemployment is rampant, and even crime is on the rise in our nation. So,
All right, CK, what do you make of that speech?
Well, nice speech, as Jide rightly said, but I'm not carried away. We are used to speeches, nice ones. Jide say this is the best. I don't think this is the best for me. There have been other speeches that the president has made in the past that I even found much better than this. My problem is not with speeches. It's what do we make out of these speeches, and what do we implement what we say? The president went to certain parts of the country when we were having issues, and just as he was leaving, people were being killed. Okay? He also visited. So my problem is not, we can write all the best speeches. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we don't have the right laws. We have the best of laws. We have the best of law. We have the best of constitution. But the problem has always been, how well do we implement some of these things that we say? Good one, he said about Boko Haram. Good enough, our military are doing what they are supposed to do, and we're getting results and the rest of them. But there's still more to be done. Okay.
he admitted, he said we will not allow them to achieve
That is what I'm saying.
In the past, he will have said we have defeated them.
No, mostly.
No, you want me to point?
I agree with you.
Are you saying the president has never said that?
No, he has.
He even went to France. He went to France and said there's no Nigerian community in the house of Boko Haram.
That is what I'm saying.
That was in 2016.
That is the information. That is the information that is food soldiers gives him. You understand what I'm trying to say? I'm not blaming the president. I'm not saying the president. Most often than we haven't seen the chief of.
This was this one was modest. No blaming, no chopping of chest.
We haven't seen the chief of army staff that comes out and say within 4 weeks we are going to these guys should be destroyed and the rest of them. What I'm saying is that I think high time we start putting action to most of the things that the president says.
Well, definitely, you know, we work with words, and we are journalists. We are used to words. We appreciate well-written speeches, but, you know, at 58, we should not live by good speeches alone. And I think the leadership that he is giving is what we are concerned with, the implementation of the program that he has had. For instance, what is missing about this Boko Haram thing? He should talk big. People are more concerned about what the headsmen are doing than even Boko Haram, because they have been, we have been told that they are the fourth most deadly terrorist group in the world. And people are always concerned. We have talked so many times here about why he's always silent about the activities of headsmen. And they are causing more problems now, even for his government, than Boko Haram.
It's not
If
silent.
you listen to that speech
It's
today,
not silent. If he was silent, he would not have mentioned them.
Yes,
Anybody that
they are going to deal with them.
Even when he went to Taraba, he mandated the armed forces to crush these guys. He mandated them.
The context
he told
of this
them, he said
speech.
he is sure that a lot of these guys are not even Nigerians.
Yes.
Except if you are saying you wanted the president to say, look, I will crush these people.
No.
The language this time was much more temperate.
He say he will crush these people. Well, that's what I'm saying, that it is not the language that we are talking about.
But the president has to galvanize people with his speech.
Definitely, he has to galvanize
Obama
people with
become
his speech.
someone today?
Yeah.
Obama, after his party lost the election in 2003, Obama addressed the people and he gave them hope. And that hope, we saw that hope crystallize.
We have been having promises.
He won the election in
from this same
2008.
president. You know that we have been having promises.
But you see, the
for the past 3
president,
years.
whether we like it or not, a president must galvanize his people.
But
A president must offer hope.
This galvanizing has been
speeches-
happening
Look, even
for
in
the past 3
speeches,
years.
hold on now, even in speeches, you must give hope. You cannot address the people and say,
Definitely.
gentlemen, I'm tired.
No.
I can't do it.
Definitely.
Oh, why are you people so stubborn? Nigeria. No, you are not paying your taxes.
No.
So
We don't expect it.
My problem.
That is what a leader should speak.
My problem with the speech, as I
That
said,
we should not live by speech
it's not just by
alone.
president making those speeches.
So-
those that have been given the responsibility
to do
have
certain
to
jobs.
do should be able to do it.
All right.
Not doing it, get them
Gentlemen,
fired.
We report. It's not to listen to all the time.
That's get them fired.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you.
You should get them fired.
He told them to
If
crush.
they're not
Yes, so-
performing,
If
get them
they
fired.
don't
That
now
is it.
implement it.
I wish we had more time.
I wish.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you. Martin Zoloja, thank you for attending this special edition of Journalist Hangout. I thank you, CKN,
Thank you very
for
much.
taking our time. Baby lawyer, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to thank Ismail Omikpidon, that Kolawole Johnson, and Mayor Akipelu. Mayor Akipelu is still in the house. I'm sure he's going to celebrate Nigeria at 58 for us as well. We're living
I'm going to hang out here.
Yes, sir. That's it on our October 1st special edition of Journalist Hangout. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. for our regular episode of the program. So you can watch the repeat broadcast tonight, and you can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. Happy Independence, Nigeria. My name is Ayodele Ozubako. God bless Nigeria.